Hi, everybody. Dan Illman and Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Friday, May the 24th. Race number 4 at Belmont at the Big A, a maiden special weight going a mile and 3/8 on the turf. Let's take a peek at this field. It's a pretty competitive group, Mike. We've got 9 entered, with the 9 just music entered main track only. Miss Sedona's the 2-1 morning line favorite, earned a quality speed figure at Keeneland last time out, rallying from off the pace. But she was a big price that day, and she'll likely be the favorite here.
I mean, I guess just based on that race alone, and then you compare it to, what everybody else has done in here so far, Dan. I mean, I guess she almost has to be favored in here. That figure that she earned, which kind of stands out in here, is still well below par for this race. Now, let's put it this way: I don't have a lot of confidence in anybody in here. I don't think we have any future stars in this field.
Well, let's throw up our Timeform US pace projector, and we'll see that the 6 investment process, stretching out for her second lifetime start following a debut going a mile and a 16th. She broke really sharp in that race before being taken in hand. Now she gets blinkers. Now she stretches out. She can make the lead. I wouldn't be surprised if Missoula is up close as well. And Dark Pool was on the lead in a mile and a half synthetic race 2 starts back.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think the blinkers are going on the 6 to get her to show more speed. She was just kind of really green and got intimidated a couple of times in that race. I feel like that's probably why the blinkers are on. I mean, maybe she makes the lead in here anyway, Dan. And it wouldn't be a bad place to be against this field.
Investment process is trained by Chad Brown, as is the one, Queen's Fable, who you note at the back of the pack. She's very unlikely to make the lead. She has not shown much speed from 2 well-bet starts going a mile at Tampa Bay Downs, although last time out, I thought she ran on pretty well to be third. She finished ahead of a horse that came back to win on the Tapeta at Gulfstream with a 61 buyer.
We'll see what kind of trip she gets this time. She didn't break great in her debut. Last time, it seemed like they consciously just took a hold of her and took her back off the pace. I don't love either one of her races, Dan. More than anything else, though, she kind of gives off the impression that longer distances just going to be way better for her. She doesn't really have any acceleration. She just stays on. As you put out in her most recent start, she had no chance to win once that field got into the stretch, but she did run on pretty well at the end of that race. I wonder if stretching out really helps her.
The 2 is Dark Pool, and she's already been this extended distance a couple of times and hit the board in both of those efforts, one on turf at Aqueduct last fall, and of course at Gulfstream in that synthetic race, where I thought she ran okay. She was sort of pressured by a 30-1 shot that ended up finishing well off the board and got tired. Here's her most recent start at Laurel. This race is going a mile and an eighth. Not a ton of pace on, but I thought the trip was all in all there for her. Inside out, she's going to get up for third without threatening for the win.
I thought the same thing. I thought overall she got a pretty good trip in here. I mean, she does stay on at the end. I think she's really game here to win the duel for third, but she's not making up any ground late in here. Dan, I didn't see the excuse in here. I haven't really seen the excuses in her other races either. Her overall turf form, I guess, is okay, but we've already seen enough of her, I feel like, and somebody could just improve and go right past her in this race.
But it's possible this extra distance can do her some good, and she's 10-1 on the morning line with a couple of back figures that make her somewhat interesting. Ms. Sedona is the number 3. This is a daughter of Justify. She made her first start for Michael Maker in her second lifetime appearance. It's this race at Keeneland. Now, the pace wasn't very fast, and she was sort of near the back of the pack after breaking poorly. She gets to the outside. She has a really big look at this, Mike, but she just can't get past the favorite in the stretch. I worry about this race, though. 5 horses have come back. None have hit the board with the best buyer of 57.
Yeah, exactly. I worry about that too. And overall, Dan, Miss Sedona, I thought she got a great trip in here. I mean, everything worked to her advantage. You saw him come to the outside there at the top of the stretch. She was right behind the winner there at the top of the stretch, and she just couldn't make up any ground. Now, she ran fine. I'm not sure how strong that race is. As you've already pointed out, she was 24-1 in her debut. Then she's 12-1. Now she's 2-1 on the morning line. Maybe this is just the right spot, but she's not my kind of horse.
Past tense is the number 4, and she's going to really stretch out for the first time for this. Start number 6, Tony Dutrow is the trainer. She's a daughter of Gosapper, and she kind of acts like she'll stay on a little bit. Last time out at Aqueduct, she sort of was near the back of the pack, came to the outside. She never really threatened for the win, but it looked like she was staying on decently enough.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. She was staying on in there, but overall, she's another one who had a good trip in that race. Never looked like she was going to win. Maybe added distance helps her. I've just sort of been waiting for the breakthrough for her, Dan, for a couple of starts now, and it hasn't happened. I'm starting to wonder how good she is.
Perhaps Jitterbug, the number 5, is the stranger to consider. Joel Rosario, Christophe Clement. She's only raced once. It was on a synthetic surface. She took no money that day and got wired in a slow-paced race. Now she's going to try turf. She's by Justify, just a super turf sire. It's just interesting that there's a lot of dirt immediately in the female family, and they haven't tried her on it yet.
Yeah, I noticed that too. There's dirt and there's distance in there too. Of course, the dam, who's just she was an okay horse, but she's a sister to Blame who just would go all day. So I don't know. I'm surprised they haven't run her on dirt yet. And the other problem that I have with her, Dan, is first of all, Clement is great with first time starters, and this horse took no money first time out, and she was terrible in that race. She did no running.
Investment Process is up next. Second time starter again. Blinkers on. Could be a pace presence for Chad Brown. And she did take money for her debut down at Gulfstream. She broke pretty well. She wound up saving ground. I'm not sure if she would have been there at the wire, Mike, but it looked like she got checked onto her right lead at the quarter pole. And after that, Irad kind of just kept her safe.
Yeah, that I saw the same thing there. Just sort of felt like maybe she got a little intimidated. The horse sort of made it just a little tight on her there, and she got really intimidated. I think she just sort of stopped running at that point, and so Irad just kind of let her finish on her own. It suggests to me that she could run a lot better in this race. They're going to stretch her out immediately. The blinkers are on here. I mean, this isn't a very good field, and maybe she's just not very good anyway, but I could see her taking a pretty big step forward here.
Now, that race was back in January. She was wired. She'll have to deal with a little bit of a layoff at this extended distance. You guess you trust Chad at these situations, especially at 6-1. The sixth place horse in that last race came back to run second in a Gulfstream Turf Maiden with a 74 buyer. Wake Up Lauren made her turf debut for Michael Maker last time out, going a mile in the 16th. She ran to a pretty solid field with the runner-up coming back to graduate with a 75 buyer, but it was just sort of a situation. She saved ground and was only even.
Rated her back to last. You're right. Just stayed on the rail the entire way, ran on a little bit through the stretch. Never was really a factor in that race. Didn't get any kind of a figure for it. The two Chad Brown horses ran 1-2 in there. You mentioned that the runner-up came back to win. She won her nice race, but she kind of got lucky to win there. I mean, another horse there had a terrible trip. I don't know. I wanted to see her run better in there because I do think I'm not a big Malibu Moon guy on turf, but there's a lot of turf in the female family.
The Time From US has the 6 on top with the 8 up close. I might flip-flop, but I think the 8 Missoula is going to be aggressively ridden out of there. And then they'll try to back down the fractions under Dylan Davis. Those tactics almost pulled off a victory 2 starts back, going a mile and an eighth. And last time out, those were pretty solid fractions for a mile and 3/16 maiden race at Keeneland. She was the favorite. She ended up tiring, but the winner of that race came back to flatter the form. Second in a stake up here with an 81 buyer.
Yeah, we'll see what I agree with you that maybe this is the one to get a little bit of speed out of. And so we'll see if that helps her. I just want to point out that in the near miss 2 starts back, the turf debut, the favorite lost her rider right at the start of that race. The sort of just came wide open. This horse got a perfect trip in there and wasn't good enough. And then she comes back in her next start at Keeneland going a little longer, got a perfect trip in that race and wasn't even close to good enough. I don't think this horse is any good.
Christophe Clement trains. Dylan Davis takes the mount. The 9 is Just Music, entered main track only. She's obviously a contender if this is washed off. Before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time, race number 4, first leg dollar pick 6 at Belmont at the Big A on Friday. Queen's Fable with a late run for Chad Brown.
Yeah, don't like anybody in here, really, Dennis. I'm not taking the favorite, that's for sure. I was torn between the 2 Chad horses here. I'll wait and see which one's the better price. I like this post for Queen's Fable, though, and I do feel like that there's a chance she's way better going longer.
I think Miss Sedona is going to appreciate a little bit more ground. She's got a big, strong body type, and I think she'll be running at the end. I hate the price at 2-1. I just wonder if the Manny Franco Chad Brown horse takes a little bit more money than the 6-1 on the morning line. I think Miss Sedona's fair at 5-2. I wouldn't go a dime less. 3846 for me, 1364 for Mike. Race number 4, Belmont at the Big A. It's your DRF race of the day. Good luck.